Okay, we're at the PlayStation event in London, celebrating the 20th anniversary of PlayStation, and we're looking at a variety of games. And one of the games that we're looking at is Media Molecule's Tearaway. I was going to say Little Big Planet there, but that would have been wrong. So we're here looking at Tearaway, and I've been joined by the Media Molecule Massive, as they are, and my first question is to ask a little bit about what the game is for people who maybe haven't played the PS Vita original. What is Tearaway, and how does it use the PlayStation 4? Who wants to go first?
Microphone. So Tearaway Unfolded is an adventure journey that you go on with your papercraft messenger, Atwa, or Iota, depending on who you want to pick as your messenger. And you go on this delivery mission. The papercraft character is delivering a special message, a unique message to you, the player, who's playing the game outside of the world. It's like a buddy movie. You're working collaboratively with this little character. And we have these, what Tearaway Unfolded brings actually is very unique ways to interact with the game world with the unique features of the DualShock 4. I think I'll hand over to probably Christophe and Richard to describe more about how you interact.
Yeah, so basically that was a bit of a challenge for us to move from like a game on a portable device to something you play in your home in front of your big TV. And we came through like a lot of game jam to make it possible to make this link and connection with the player, and like we experiment like crazy things, and we just kept the best one, the one that felt like fun and papery and that basically thick fundamentally in the world of Tearaway. And all this, because the player is not like a god, like looking to a tiny screen through a tiny world of paper. Now the world is big in front of you, and the thing is, we wanted the player to be more involved in the game with the messenger. So it's more like Michel said, a buddy movie with you and the messenger, how you can help him, how he's helping you, and how you're throwing things in the game is throwing things in your pad, you can shake it, you can feel it, how the light is lighting in the game, and all this connection. And that was one of the fundamentally thing about Tearaway Unfolded on PS4.
Okay, also the unique thing about Tearaway is that everything's made out of paper. So the good thing that the PS4 gives us is a much bigger screen and more graphical horsepower. So we've basically built all the levels again pretty much from scratch, with all the new gameplay features that you get from the DualShock, but also we've got much more power to bring to bear. So I've been able to expand the areas, give you more areas to explore. We can put more detail into those environments, more things that react to you. There's a whole lot more detail because you're on a bigger screen. So the whole thing feels bigger and more vibrant and more evolved this time.
Okay, so you touched on the bigger screen and the experience that you get from that, and I think my next question kind of leads into that quite nicely. How does the DualShock 4, working with the DualShock 4, how does that differ from working with the Vita? And can you give us some examples of ways that the experience has changed by using a control pad instead of holding the game in your hands?
So the thing that that we were presented with is the hardware does actually have very unique and different features. So the thing that's really exciting is that we went off and had a game jam, and the most important thing about Tearaway is the connection that you have with the little paper messenger and making sure that really comes through. It's also the tactility of this paper world and the way that you interact with it. And it posed a really big challenge for us. The DualShock 4 actually is a really powerful controller. Like, you can interact with the world using the touchpad panel to like press down on. It actually has a button that you can press down, so you can press down onto it, make things bounce with the drum skins that we've got in the levels. There are lots of different interactions you can have. Like, you guys can probably go into more detail of that, but like, it is unique in the way that we kind of saw that as an opportunity to really kind of push the limits of like what we could do with those features and how we can actually reinforce the connection with you and the player, you and the character, because that is actually what makes it really unique, and that's the connection you have. It's the adventure and the journey that you go on in this world.
Another thing that the PS4 or the DS4, I should say, gives us is on the Vita, you were touching the screen, so it kind of felt like you were touching the paper world. But in this, with now that we have the gyro, you can actually reach into the paper world, and the paper world will reach back out to you. So with the lights, you're shining a light in through the screen like a window, and you're hypnotizing bad guys, or you're leading people around, or you're illuminating the way so that you can see where you're going. Also, the characters, Atoa or Iota, can throw things out of the world into your pads, and then when you shake it, you can feel it because it uses the rumble, and also you can hear it. So if the squirrel, for example, is in your pad, you can stroke the touchpad and it will purr as if you're stroking it, and you'll hear it and feel it sort of in your hand, and then you can sort of flick it back into the world. So it really feels like there's a much more physical connection than there was before.
And yeah, and as well we use the wind, which is something only shown in a trailer, which is I think as the light we wanted the new powers to feel natural for the player. So like a light makes sense, it's lighting, and people react to light like in the real world. So there's much more connection. It's not is it a fantasy world made out of paper, but it has like rules you as a player you understand. And for the wind is exactly the same thing. The wind can be very gentle or very powerful. If you swipe, you can choose the direction of the wind. And the paper bend based on the wind, it just makes sense for the player. So we had a lot of gameplay based on that. So to make it feel natural for the player to interact with the world, and in a non-gimmicky way, because I mean, like when you're outside in an exterior level, you can use the wind almost anywhere, and anything from like a plant or a character or like a big thing will bend and react to it. So it's just like that's how the DualShock is, like you say, much more than a normal controller, because it has those new features, when we were like very excited to work with.
It's making them work in more of an intuitive way as well. So like when we I'll take it when we're looking at these, like what we can do with it, it's continuously like pushing the limits, but also making it feel natural and intuitive in the way that it's not tacked on. It actually feels integral to actually what you do in the game and how you interact with the characters, and how it affects like your journey and enjoyment, and hopefully joy and happiness that you get from it.
So you mentioned game jams a couple of times in that answer. So when you kind of come up with these ideas on a kind of a conceptual level, I mean, can you tell us a bit about that kind of creative process and the game jams, and how you use your time to kind of come up with these different and innovative uses of the controller, and just the controller, because obviously with the Vita, you know, you're experimenting with the whole platform and not just with kind of pushing the buttons. You know, it's a bit more to it, isn't there?
Shall I do that one?
Yeah.
So the way that we work in Media Molecule is quite unusual, because we tend to shy away from too much conceptualization. We do a lot of research, but we tend to develop by playing and experimenting directly in the game rather than doing a lot of concepts. We don't really design a lot of stuff on paper. We do sketches and doodles to give ourselves a starting point visually for the artwork, but generally things are very organic, and we kind of play. The game jam tends to consist of people buddying up together. You'll get an artist and a coder and maybe an audio person will be split between the different teams, but we'll all go in a different direction, and we're given total freedom, and we experiment with all this stuff. I mean, there's an awful lot of paper on the cutting room floor, if you like. But what that means is we get a lot of iteration. We pick the very best ideas, and then we evolve those to make sure that they feel really right. And another part that's really important is focus testing. So when we think we're kind of getting somewhere with a feature, say the God light or whatever, guiding light, then we'll put it in front of people that haven't used it before or seen it before, to see how they react to it. So we're sure that people are going to pick it up without really having to think about it too much.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were asking. Yeah, I think that's true with Game Jam. We just, the thing as well as Media Molecule is everybody's involved. I don't know how it is in other studios, but like everybody was making the Game Jam. Absolutely everybody, from the sound guy, from the artist, from like me, and and coders, programmers, like everyone was having like crazy ideas. So it's not just like you do the research and then other people are just, you know, doing nothing. Like we were all deeply involved and inspiring each other. And still, like even without the game jam, like every day I'm making something and Richard came by and say, oh, that's cool, give me an idea, and some person come by and give me an idea, and we're all a bit chaotic. Yeah, it's a bit chaotic when we're...
It's quite chaotic and a bit mental sometimes, and there are no rules, and people will go, oh, you know, and there'll be little competitions, somebody will build something, oh, I can do that better, and they won't wait to be asked. But in that way, it's fun because there are no rules, we're playing.
Yeah,
and that's I think because we're having fun, you'll feel the fun when you play the game. I think that's the important thing.
And the thing as well is we're making like Friday features, like in the end of the week, like everyone has to show something in front of everybody. So there's a bit of a contest, like my thing is cooler than yours, but not in a negative way, because you just want to have something amazing to show, something new. So yeah, it's very healthy. There's no like, it's very.
Yeah, it's also like things that we show for that are not always completely finished. So it's the opportunity to kind of just present an idea, like a very rough, like beginning of a spark of an idea, and just kind of share that with everybody. And that conversation happens day to day in the studio anyway. But I think the cool thing about Tearaway Unfolded is that we looked at the features that we have for PS4 and we just thought, okay, well, what can we do? How can we push this? How can we create this unique experience by using what we have here in our hands? And it was a really tricky challenge because we didn't think it would be possible. Like we got it running on the PS4, but it was like, well, what is this? And we had to really take a step back and actually engage in a bit of a game jam of like looking at the features and thinking, well, hang on a minute, how do we get this connection between you and the paper messenger and like really make that powerful and like really feel like you're actually pressing into the world and interacting with it? And it's that challenge that kind of kept pushing us and kept making us think, well, actually, we've hit on something. Where do we go from here? And it's like you guys like just going off of those ideas and getting inspired by each other and things that you're creating, not only in the game but outside the game as well. A lot of it is that we're creating papercraft, actual real papercraft prototypes of things as well, and seeing how paper moves and how we can like up our game with it. Really, it's
I've got a lot of questions, but I'm not sure I've got time to ask them. So I'll wrap it up with saying, in amongst having all the fun, how's everything going? How's the development going? Where are we? And what's left to do?
I can tell you we have a lot of fun making the game. And like you said earlier, like happy developer should make happy players. And I think, we're just like exploring like every day, looking at a level and say, okay, this doesn't work, this does work. We have all those new ingredients to play with, and those totally fit with this ambience and this feeling, the emotion we want the player to feel by playing this moment. And like adding new things, expanding levels, expanding things, have like new stuff to do. And it's just like a constant evolution. The game is evolving like every single day.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult to measure how far through we are. You can see that we're pretty advanced, but we've still got a lot to do. So, it's pretty difficult because we're not the sort of company that really measures things that tightly.
We're creative.
Yeah. We just live in a big pile of paper, basically.
But we will be out next year, if that's what you wanted to know. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.